Let's rank all of the mainline Star Wars Rebels sets. In preparation of the new Ahsoka show coming out, I've been rewatching Star Wars Rebels. This is extremely special for me, as I only watched the entire show once when it was premiering. I'd reached the point in the series where LEGO stopped making LEGO sets off of it, as it seemed that post-Rogue One Star Wars fatigue was starting to really set in. So let's go for this. To let you know, there are 13 sets we're considering here that released between 2014 and 2017. This list will be excluding all polybags and magazine packs, as well as the microfighters, since their simplified designs wouldn't be able to compete. Also, it always needs to be said, but this whole list is my opinion. Prepare for controversial choices. If you feel differently, you can share what you'd do differently with this list down in the comments. You can also subscribe while you're there too and give this video a like while you're at it. Now, let's get started off here at number 13 with a smaller set, Ezra's speeder bike. As you can see, there's actually two bikes here, but they're both built the exact same way, in different colors. And considering Ezra's is the one that's visually distinct, it becomes pretty clear that it's the focal point of the set. It's also supposed to be a repainted version of this other speeder. Contextually, it works, but the fact they're both the same build really bogs things down for me. Arguably, this is better than the next set on this list, but because it's a copy-paste situation, basically padding the set for size, it doesn't get to have that. The speeders are also rather large than they could have been, but that's something LEGO has struggled with for years. Minifigs don't help push it along either, as none of them are exclusive. It was a great impulse purchase back in the day though, so I will give it some credit there, but that doesn't mean much. Second on the list at number 12 is the ATDP. This really is just a lanky and hunched over ATST walker. It's not all that special, especially considering it would have to eventually compete with one of the best ATSTs we've ever got within its lifespan. Besides that, the shaping is accurate, and it's the only walker like it that has accurate seating inside in a way, but where did all these random blotches of yellow come from? I get people accuse LEGO Star Wars sets of being almost entirely big gray blobs, but at least they're accurately colored big gray blobs for the most part. Again, none of the minifigs in this set remained exclusive, which doesn't leave a lot going for it. The next set on this list might shock some, as I'm sure some nostalgic folks look at this set with rose-tinted glasses. But the Phantom really isn't as great as I would think most would like to remember, at least in my opinion. Yes, it has the ever-important function of docking into the Ghost, just like it does in the show, but this thing struggles to capture anything else outside of that docked shape. The wings that unfold from the sides compromise its appearance in flight, just to fit the hinges on the wings, further compromising the space underneath it while it's in dock formation, leaving minimal space for an interior. It honestly shocks me that headgear and chopper even fit inside of it in the first place. Add the spring shooter, and yes, minifigs that don't remain exclusive, and that leaves me putting this at number 11. Next we have a set that just seems a bit bland, but has some factors carrying it along. The TIE Advanced Prototype, taking spot number 10. This is the ship used by all the Imperial Inquisitors in the show, and as such includes the Grand Inquisitor. This figure is technically exclusive, as another non-Rebels styled figure without the helmet was introduced several years later. This figure is still unique despite that. Extra Imperial cronies are included, which is nice, and the TIE itself isn't all too shabby, but it doesn't do much of anything different than any ordinary TIE fighter either. Minifigs are solid, but with a ship that doesn't do much for its identity, it's tough for me to rank this higher. At number 9 we have something I'm disgruntled putting here, as it's actually really neat. The Imperial Troop Transport. This was Star Wars Rebels Battle Pack, and it might be one of the best. 4 Stormtroopers are included, and all of them can be transported aboard, but wow is the transport shrunk down for this to work. It lacks some very specific details, including an entire loading bay on each side in order to fit the price point. Compromises aren't all that bad, but when this thing has no troopers inside, it looks incredibly bare. This was also during a transitional period between the original and current Stormtrooper helmets, where the focus was on a midway mold meant to be more in tune with Rebels design language specifically, leaving some hesitant to even bother with this set at the time if they were intending to amass an army. Objectively, this set is basically perfect as a battle pack, but looking at the grander picture of accuracy, as well as challenges with designs, I can't rank this set as high as it probably could have otherwise. It does get points for it being a toy, based off of a design in the show that's based off of another toy. It's a meta thing we seem to be seeing a lot these days. At number 8 is Kanan's speeder bike, and here is where we're entering the territory of the more impressive sets on this list. Sure, it struggles from the same oversized issues that Ezra's speeder bike did, but it does so much to look stylish, just like it does in the show. The crates are also rather well depicted, and add a lot to functionality to the set. They're the same build, but not nearly as detrimental to the set compared to two of the exact same speeder, and that being it for the set. This set was pretty close to being an army builder in a way, if it had 2 stormtroopers, instead of just one and an Imperial combat driver. If you wanted to amass some, you have the opportunity with this one, but this set doesn't have any exclusive figures otherwise, leaving it to rank a bit lower on this list. Something we need to appreciate with LEGO Star Wars is when they commit to doing something completely new featured in the franchise. The Wookiee gunship is one such choice, but it's number 7 on this list for a reason. Again, we have to acknowledge how it's not shaped like any other ship we've seen in the franchise, but pretty much anywhere you see on this thing where you'd expect seeing space inside isn't as impressive as you'd think. A lot does fit inside, but nothing substantial, and any minifigs would need to be shoved inside if they aren't sitting in a spot where something can be piloted. Removing the speeder in the back alleviates that, but I, for one, would rather have that function accessible. What's neat is that all of the Wookiees are unique to this set, so even if it's not delivering on all fronts, you do have that. All closed up, it's a pretty complete ship too. Credit where credit's due. I have so much love for Captain Rex's ATTE, as it's a hilarious yet practical deviation from the standard walker, as this one serves more as a mobile home, without sacrificing what makes the walker iconic. Set at number 6 on this list, the ramshackle look of it adds a lot without sacrificing the legs moving about, and a touch of interior space expected of a LEGO ATTE helps round things out. It could have used more interior space, of course. You can also land the Phantom at the back too. What really gets people's attention is the minifigs in this set, as all but one are completely unique. Aside from the Stormtrooper, there's the 5th Brother Inquisitor, who also appears in the same set a few years later we saw the Grand Inquisitor appeared in. Both variants are still technically unique all the same. The Shining Stars are the elderly clone troopers. LEGO's color palette for skin tones was rather limited at that point, but the figures come across very well otherwise, and to this day are wholly exclusive and of fantastic characters to boot. Time to be a tad bit more controversial with number 5 here. I'm sure too few would put the Imperial Assault Carrier this high on this list, but hear me out. To get it out of the way, the Astromech Droid is the only truly exclusive figure here, as the only other 2 you could genuinely vouch for are only variants wearing different headgear. No, this set is ranked this high for the set itself. This thing is a beast and manages to expertly manage its interior space, in my opinion. A discreet handle you can pull out to swoosh the ship around proves that, but the important points of access are all there, and storage for accessories is expertly handled. This on top of also managing this awesome feature of launching TIE fighters that doesn't intrude on the rest of the ship. With a lack of truly unique minifigs, and not as striking an appearance compared to other sets out at the time, I can see why this set was overlooked, but I feel so many people missed out on this build. At number 4 we have the Rebel Combat Frigate. It has an incredibly unique shape you won't find anywhere else, with a function you won't either. The back wings, I suppose, roll open, but with that comes some struggles. Half the entire ship is dedicated to make this function work, as well as housing the handle used to swoosh it around, leaving the other half of the ship with only so much room to do anything to fit the minifigs. While it does that well enough, it doesn't feel quite as utilized as it could have. But my goodness, the minifigs! Okay, yes, more than half are not unique, but Commander Sato is entirely exclusive to this set, which is crazy for such an integral character in the show. Well, not as integral to the entire Star Wars saga as Ahsoka herself. This minifig is a crown jewel in the LEGO Star Wars collection. It's unclear whether the blue blades are there due to concept art, or LEGO not knowing what to do for white blades, but this adult version of Ahsoka is also exclusive to this set regardless, and I feel perhaps it makes people think this set is a bit more exciting than it actually is, especially since she accounts for more than half of the set's astronomical aftermarket value. We'll see if this holds up when more sets show up with Ahsoka in it as the Ahsoka show releases. Not to shortchange it, of course, as it's still great and has so much character for what it is. Functions are big, but it still does what it needs to do, even if it only lasts for a very short time in the show. The minifigs definitely carry this set in the community though. Number 3 is where you'll find the Phantom, referred to as the Phantom 2 in the show. You won't find the struggles of the original Phantom here, as you could fit all the characters included inside if you really wanted. It's just a matter if you want to have the crate on board. It still could have done a better job at interior space, but it's not as detrimental here as it was with the original. This ship does fit on the Ghost as well, but it's a massive ship and looks extremely disproportionate when docked. An excellent build is punctuated by fantastic and completely exclusive minifigures to this set. Aside from Chopper, Kanan is a completely unique version of him, and then there's perhaps the biggest draw of this set, Grand Admiral Thrawn. He made his debut in Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels and continues to leave a lasting impression on the Star Wars universe. Speaking of Season 3, this was the only set LEGO ever produced based off of the latter 2 seasons of Rebels, making it all the more interesting. This came out after it became apparent that the show's access was rather limited, and saturation of the Star Wars name went overboard. So I can't say it's a shock that LEGO would stop doing stuff for the show, but man, it would have been incredible if they went all in. Minifigs and a fantastic ship is what we got though, and that continues to number 2, which is deservedly given to the Ghost. Practically a character itself, this is the main ship of the Rebels focused on in the show, and while it's not nearly as fleshed out as it could have been here, so many staple features are included. It's also become extremely iconic, and that's reflected by how revered this set is, especially considering people's utter shock when a remake was revealed in 2023 that did this ship the same service the one in 2014 did, if not better. Minifigs also make this set, as Zeb is exclusive to this one. None of the others are particularly exclusive, but a product variation could have landed you a rarer version of Kanan with black hair and a matching faceprint. Hera is included in the microfighter version of the Ghost, and yes, this set has a Stormtrooper too. Just goes to show you how impressive a set this is, as despite all of that, it still ranks this high anyways. This is where my opinion will shock you, as I have to give number 1 to Vader's TIE Advanced versus A-Wing Starfighter. This set's only flaw is that the sets aren't split into individual sets, allowing more people to enjoy both of them. I for one like them both together, and for that reason, I believe this set is perfect. This is the best A-Wing we have ever got. Landing gear to the fullest with angled thrusters all the same, and perhaps one of the most elaborate yet superfluous functions you can find in any LEGO set really, as the entire core of this ship can be shifted backwards to fire its shooters. The Star Wars fan in me asks why, but the LEGO build lover in me is in heaven. What could make this set even better than perhaps the most perfect version of Darth Vader's TIE Advanced? Yes, the one from A New Hope. It's nothing more special than any other TIE fighter, but it being this one, and the best we've ever got of it, I can't sing enough praise for it. Make it a combo pack that allows us to enact one of the best parts of Star Wars, the dogfights, and you have a winner. Did I mention all the minifigs are basically exclusive in this set? Darth Vader has a torso variation that makes him unique, and Sabine was only available elsewhere in an advent calendar for a very limited time. The A-Wing pilot is exclusive, and so is Grand Moff Tarkin. This is a genre of sets I adore because of this set, that I'm just so happy has come back as of 2023, and in some extremely shining examples of what the LEGO Star Wars line can truly be. I'll say it again, I can't praise these types of sets, especially the number 1 spot holder on this list, enough. And that there is the complete list. I honestly really struggled to place everything between number 10 and number 7, as there was just so many factors at play that make these sets go from mixed to most impressive. But I managed it. Again, the comments are open if you want to voice where you would place these sets if your list is different than mine. If you really want your opinion to stand out, you can donate an amount of your choice to the channel using the thanks button. Your comment gets highlighted for your generosity when you do that, and it also supports the channel too. Anyways, I'm Pen, and I'll see you next time.